Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Step Up to the Mic. This is the place for aspiring and established speakers to take the stage, deliver their talks, and bring them directly to you. Folks, today's featured speaker, he is going to bring his message of overcoming a whole bunch of different obstacles. His idea is shattering the survival mask, escaping the crab mentality, and claiming your edge. Please welcome to our stage Bryan Blackmon.
Thank you, sir. Hello, my name is Bryan Blackmon. I am a recovering drug and alcohol addict. I have spent the majority of my life in the drug and alcohol world. I started um, becoming, I started when I was about 13 years old. I never felt comfortable in my own skin. From a really young age, I understood that there was something different inside me. I didn't know exactly what that was, but I knew that I struggled with understanding just simple feelings. They were so overwhelming and to a point where I was uncomfortable being in my own skin. And once I drank my very first beer at 13 years old, I was finally able to breathe. It became this safe place for me, and um, I didn't understand it. I didn't understand what was going on, but I knew that there was something inside me that felt calm and at peace for the first time in my life. And at such a young age, I didn't understand what was truly going on. I think a major misconception about the drug and alcohol world is maybe I came from a family that was suffering from that, or that, my mom and dad were drug and alcoholics, and they were not. I come from a very wonderful, loving, caring Christian church-going family in Texas. So that was definitely not the case with me. I just had something inside me that was completely different than I was able to understand at that time and at that age. So fast forward to my sophomore year of, or my, I'm sorry, my freshman year of high school, I started drinking with friends at high school parties, and that led to the marijuana. It also led to the cocaine. It led to the heroin. By the time I was 17 years old, going into my junior year, for my sophomore year, I started doing heroin. I got to a place in my life where drugs were the only thing that kept me surviving, and the alcohol was just there as part of my everyday lifestyle. I ended up going to every jail, city jail, known to man in the Fort Worth, Dallas area and surrounding cities. I struggled with friends that had overdosed on heroin, but to me, it was just another reason to go party and celebrate that person, which is just wild and crazy to think that most people would want to stop at that point or see something in their life that they needed to change. However, it just gave me more reasons to keep taking life to the edge. What ended up happening was I was no longer happy in that lifestyle. I continued to do it just because it made me feel normal. It made me feel like I was a part of something. Unfortunately, I was so destructive in every outlet and every way of life that I couldn't wake up in the morning without putting something into my body to make me feel quote unquote normal. So what did I do? I lived the sex, drugs, and rock and roll lifestyle to its fullest. As you can see behind me, there is a guitar. I've been a musician since I was a little kid, and I started watching videos and MTV when it first came out and seeing all these rock stars living that lifestyle. And that's exactly what I wanted to do, and that's exactly what I did do. It got so dark that it became a way of life, that it was the only way that I knew. Prison didn't help. I ended up doing 2 years in prison from the time I was 28 to the time that I was 30. I've been to every rehab, every single sober living home from Fort Worth, Texas to Dallas to California. What I failed to realize is all these moments that I had gotten sober, they were never for myself. Never did I do it because I wanted to. It was always to get what I wanted from a selfish reason, for my mom, for my family, for my grandparents to get a job, to keep a job, to get off parole, to get off probation. Never once did I ever truly feel like I deserved a better life. And really, I didn't think about wanting or caring about a better life. This is the normal that I felt, and it was the only way that I knew how to live my life, and I was comfortable with that. Being sober wasn't something that I thought about. It wasn't a way of life that I felt that I would even be comfortable in because, like I said earlier, I just didn't know that that was something that could give me a purpose. What ended up happening was I had a desire to move to California my entire life. And at 42 years old, I finally packed up everything and left the Dallas Fort Worth area, moved out to California, and things got really dark. Things got really, really dark and to a point that I didn't even know who I was anymore. And moving to California, wanting to be here my whole life, I had to take the sex, drugs, and rock and roll to a whole nother level, which I did. I didn't have any friends. I didn't know anybody out here, but just one person, and that relationship fell apart fairly quickly due to both of our addictions. I ended up homeless in Venice Beach, California, Santa Monica, Culver City, Woodland Hills, before moving to Huntington Beach, California. I was sleeping in my car, working in LA, and looking for a place to live. I was so tired. I was emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically just spent. No hope really in life. I was just surviving at this point, and I got to where I didn't want to survive anymore. I just couldn't continue. So what ended up happening is, as I'm looking for a place to rent out here, I stumbled across this 85-year-old lady whose name is Elaine. She took a chance on me when no one else would. She had no idea about my drug and alcohol addiction. She The generational help is what really blew me away by our situation. She didn't know me from Adam. She didn't know what I was suffering with. She didn't know what I was going through. It turned out that she ended up having an older daughter. She has three daughters. The oldest one died from, or passed away, I should say, from her own alcoholism. Her other two daughters suffered with alcohol their entire life, and they've also recovered. And she had two grandsons that passed away from fentanyl overdoses. Now, going into this, she had no idea that I was struggling with any of it. And I was so good at hiding it that it would be hard for anybody to really understand how dark my insides were and how miserable I was on the inside. So her taking this chance on me and giving me a roof over my head finally gave me that safe place, that roof over my head. I finally had a place to where I could just rest my head. And at that point, I really became more secluded and reclusive than I ever have in my life. I've always been the outgoing, loving life, sharing joy with people and just making people laugh, but from a fake place, if that makes sense to anybody. It wasn't the true Bryan, it was me faking it. Well, once I moved in here and I had that safe haven, it took a really dark turn. I didn't know I didn't know how to survive anymore. And it got to where I needed to make a difference. I needed to make a change in my life, and I didn't know exactly how to do that. And really, at the time, I wasn't even sure how to or if I really cared. I just knew that if something didn't change quickly, I wasn't going to be around much longer. Like I said, I've already gone to prison and all the jails, and it was either going to be a grave site or jails for me. The places I was going, the people I was hanging out with to get what I needed were not good people, not good areas. Definitely a lot of danger in that. But that's also life in that addiction, right? You don't care just as long as you're feeding what it is that you are um, are addicted to. You really don't care about those consequences, or at least I didn't. It was 892 days ago today that I woke up and was brushing my teeth, and during that moment, the devil on my shoulder, the angel on this shoulder, the voice in my head, my spirit, every cell in my body, the chatter back and forth was no longer there. Everything lined up in my entire body, my entire makeup, everything just lined up. And for the first time in my life, all I heard was the words of power greater than myself. And I heard you are worth it. At the time, I wasn't quite sure what that meant, but I understood that it was a power greater than myself giving me an opportunity to make a decision. So I decided that I would go all in. I would give it everything I had to change my life and to prove my worth, but not to anybody else, not to my family, not for any other reason than me realizing that I was worth having a better life than I'd ever lived before. And on top of that, I was so curious about what the other side of life looked like. I've been doing this for 35 plus years. I truly wanted to experience something different, and I didn't know what that looked like or how it would turn out. I just knew that that first step was realizing that I deserved something better. At which point, I checked myself into a local sober living home. It didn't work out. I was there for 3 days while people were relapsing in front of me, and it just it made it easier. Is I felt that I couldn't go anywhere or be around anybody, even in the safest place. A sober living home had that kind of activity going on there. So I checked myself out. I came back home and I locked myself in my room for 30 days. I don't recommend anybody locking themselves in their rooms for 30 days to get over any kind of drug addiction or alcoholism. I had been through it so many times that I knew what I needed to do, and I knew the reaction I was going to get from my body, and I knew it was going to be difficult. But I was so determined. I was so determined at this point to make this happen. It got to the point where my fingertips and my toes were purple and bruised from me clawing the carpet so bad. I was praying to God. I was just praying to please go ahead and take me. I couldn't take it anymore. And I was truly terrified for my life. Not only that, I got to the point where I was terrified for Elaine, who had given me this wonderful opportunity to live in this beautiful home with her and give me a chance to change my life. And I felt like I was disrespecting all of it. But I couldn't do anything about that until I got myself in a better place to be a better Bryan, to be the best Bryan. And I was still going through it. And I went downstairs and I risked getting kicked out of here. I risked losing this opportunity that she had so wonderfully given me. And when I approached her downstairs, knowing that I could possibly get kicked out of here, I told her what I was going through and how I'd been disrespecting this opportunity and her and this home in general. Her exact words to me were, Bryan, I love you. I want the best for you. You're more than welcome to stay here. Whatever you have to do, I'll support you. I'm behind you every bit of the way. Go back upstairs, do what you need to do, and I'll be right here if you need me. So that's what I did. I came back upstairs and Um, I went for another 15, 16 days, and it was about that 30-day mark. I finally decided to go to an AA meeting. I didn't know anybody. I knew where one was in my area. I decided to go, and man, I'll never forget walking in there, not knowing anybody, scared to death, just looking like a wretched soul. Before I decided to get sober, when I looked at myself in the mirror that day, I believe that everybody's born with this light inside them. We all have this spirit that we're initially born with. Mine was so dim. It was so dim, there was really nothing left. I believe when I walked into this place, the people that were there had probably seen worse, but I'm sure they, were kind of scared at the person who just walked in their door. They could tell that I was withered. I was tired. I was hurt. I was scared. I was fearful. I sat down and I listened to a few people share, and I just got this overwhelming feeling to raise my hand, and I did. And the only thing that came out of my mouth was, I'm tired. And I had tears running down my face. I was just at a breaking point. And I think, you think 30 days, you should be out of this or kind of coming out of it. But 30 days compared to 35 years of drug and alcohol addiction, man, I had a long road ahead of me. so many people from that meeting reached out to me and approached me afterwards and offered to be my sponsor. They offered to help me in any way that they could. And all I wanted to do was go home and go back to bed. It took everything that I had in me just to get to that meeting and to raise my hand. I'm covered in tears, and what happened is I just came home and I just continued to seclude myself and my heart away from anybody that was wanting to help me or any other options that I had as far as getting myself in a better place. I just continued to sleep it off, and this went on for a good 3 months. About 6 months into it, I started feeling a little bit better. I started kind of coming to this reality of not having any drugs and alcohol in my system for any longer period than I've ever gone through, except for when I was in jail. But that wasn't willingly, that was a controlled situation where I had no choice. I never said I was happy there. I started making TikTok videos with my 85-year-old, 86, 87 at this time, landlord. You never know what she's going to say or do. And so I had about 4,200 followers on TikTok. I have a degree in audio and video production. I've always enjoyed entertaining and making people laugh through video. And so I started making these videos, and one of them went super viral. It hit about 7 million, and literally overnight, my life changed. I had all these TikTok agencies hitting me up um, about what was going on and wanting me to sign with them and be a part of their TikTok community, if you will. And I just wasn't interested in it. I had no desire to do that. So I posted another video a couple of days later about um, how this all happened and who Elaine was and who I was and this video and what she was doing. And it even doubled in views. It went to like 14 million viral. Next thing I know, the LA Times are reaching out to me. ABC 7 out of Los Angeles hit us up and came out and did interviews on us. We were on the second page of the LA Times, the news, at 5 p.m., one evening and like 7 p.m. a.m. the next morning. And life just changed overnight. I couldn't have planned this. I couldn't have, this was no trying. This was no planning. This was just me enjoying life for a few minutes. And I realized at that point something special had happened, but I didn't understand exactly where it was going or this path that was being laid out in front of me, where it would take me. And all I did was just follow the guidance. I don't really talk about a religion, but I'm a very spiritual human being, and when I listen to that internal gut instinct, I just go with it as much as I can, and that's what I did. I started live streaming, and I didn't really want to be honest with you. I had no desire to be a live streamer. I didn't even really know what it was or what to do, and so one day I just got this idea. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go live, and I took my phone and went down to PCH, which is Pacific Coast Highway here in California, and sat on a bench in front of the ocean feeding squirrels. There were 7 people watching me. I just remember, I go, what am I doing here? This awkward moment of like, hey, my name's Bryan. And I just started talking and I just started sharing a little bit about my day. Fortunately, I had hit so many people with the viral videos that they were already kind of curious about who I was and what was going on. And so I just started sharing my story. One thing led to another. I just kept doing it, and we built a community. Um, I started a morning show and then an evening show, touring all around Huntington Beach, promoting local businesses, the Huntington Beach Pier, the surfers, the sunrise, the sunset. And it just became this way of me to give back. So many people in my life have, when I say supported me, they never turned their back on me. A lot of them did have to turn their back on me, but my family and the people that I grew up with was a very small circle. However, they always knew that I would be worth something so much more if I could just get myself together. So things are starting to happen. And as I'm doing this, I start realizing that a community and a family is being built. This got to the point where it was 600 people showing up to my lives every time. TikTok was throwing it out to 18 to 25,000 people. I started realizing that this isn't about me anymore. And a transformation was not only happening within me, it was happening in this community, this family. I usually start my live streams from the Huntington Beach Pavilion in the evenings. And one day, this wonderful, amazing woman whose name is Kari sent me this gift. So when you're live streaming, you people send you virtual gifts. They make your screen do all these really cool things, and that turns into money. And that's how live streamers make money. So I'm standing there, and there's usually all these people standing around watching me because I get pretty wild and crazy and just really into what I'm doing. And this lady, Kari, had sent me this crab gift, and it came and it danced on my head, and its little pinchers kind of started doing this, and I just yelled out, "Oh, really, Kari? You gave me crabs right here on TikTok in front of everybody?" And it just became this thing that everybody laughed at and thought was so funny. So next thing I know, everybody's sending me this crab gift. And it got to the point where I was just calling out everybody's name. Oh, you just gave me crabs, you know. And so I'd already put a P.O. box on the top of my TikTok bio, and I start receiving crab gifts from all over the world. I've got crab blankets, crab socks, crab boxers, crab keychains, crab bubblers, anything and everything crab. It was amazing to see so much love pouring in to somebody who was just recently a meth addict, an alcoholic, a heroin addict, a homeless person. Something truly was happening in a way that I could have never prepared myself for. So I just kept going and I kept growing. And next thing I know, I was researching what is a crab? Why did this moment happen? I don't believe in coincidences. So I started really researching and studying what a crab is. And come to find out, which I had no idea, is they're super resilient. They're adaptive and they don't let life tear them apart. If they have to stop when life hits them, they stop. If they need to make a move sideways, either direction, if they need to go backwards, if they need to move forward in any kind of way, they bounce back when life hits them. I started thinking, well, that's exactly what I've had to do in my sobriety. I've had to become adaptive. I've had to become resilient. Take that a step further, I've been preparing for this my entire life. Being homeless and being a drug addict and an alcoholic and living in the fast lane, I could adapt to any situation that you put me in. Living in a tent in Venice Beach, not having a dollar to my name, no job, no way to get money coming in. Terrified, just adapting to what life was bringing me. I've been preparing for these moments my entire life without even knowing it. So as I start doing a little more research into this, I start thinking about the four pillars of crab. Like, how can I make this work to start helping other people? How can I share my disciplines that I do on a daily basis from the time that I get up in the morning to the time that I go to bed every night? The routines that I put into my place that keep me grateful for five things. Number one, the fact that I was given another chance at life today. Number two, I've got a roof over my head. I've got shoes on my feet. I've got clothes on my back, and I've got food in my stomach. And after those five things, I truly look at everything else that happens in my life as a bonus. So I started really pouring my heart into this crab pillar. Like, how can I bring something to help people? And then I stumbled across the crab theory, the crab mentality, which just blew my mind that there was such a thing. So all of these things are just lining up perfectly. And I just start falling in love with this whole movement that's happening. The crab mentality goes like this. If you put a bunch of crabs in a bucket, one of them will try to escape. And upon doing so, the other ones will reach up and pull it back down. I've experienced that my whole life, trying to get sober, trying to do something different, trying to get away. You can run as far as you want, or I could run as far away as I wanted, but I'm always going to find whatever it is I needed. but I was always being pulled back down, but not just by people, by myself. I kept pulling myself back down. It doesn't have to be just other people doing it to you. You can do it to yourself. And that's exactly what I'd been doing my entire life. So I just found this whole thing fascinating. So I started writing down what could I build off of this crab mentality? Well, what did I have to do first? I had to get clean. There's the C. Not only did I have to get clean, I had to clean the chaos, the weeds out of my head that I've just planted for so many years. Then I had to become resilient. Right? There's the R. Learning how to be resilient when life hits you. How are you going to bounce back? How are you going to keep moving when life just hits you unexpectedly? Good, bad, or indifferent, it doesn't matter. It's always going to hit in some way. And how are you going to maneuver through it? And then I started thinking about the A. Well, I had to become adaptive, just like a crab, right? And then the B being belief. You have to have a strong foundation. You have to believe, and it falls back to that day that I was brushing my teeth 892 days ago. I had to believe that I was worth a better life. I had to believe that I was worth so much more. And it just so happened that that landed on the bottom as the foundation that everything else can be built off of. So when I think about it, after building all of this and looking into it, I was like, well, that's exactly what I want to do. I just want to help people become the better versions of themselves than they ever thought that they could be. And it doesn't have to be through drug and alcohol addiction. It could be from depression. It could be from overeating. It could be from just being so hurt by the beliefs that you've planted in your head for so many years. And these are disciplines that I've made a part of my life every morning and every night. And even during the day, life is great. As within, so without. And what you keep putting into your internal self is what life will continue to show you. And if you're constantly putting in negative, you're going to get negative back. That's how the universe works. You know, you can pray all day long for patience and resilience. And if you do, your higher power is not going to put patience in your lap. You're going to be dealt situations that build patience, that build resilience. So, how are you going to live your life and believe that you're worthy of so much more? And that's that's my joy and my passion today is helping that next crab out so then they can build a better life for themselves so they can turn around and pull the next crab out. If everything is frequency and vibration, that just puts out a big, awesome, high vibration for everyone to appreciate and be grateful for. It's like you holding a door open for somebody. We never know what that next person is going through. We just never know what somebody is going through. And simply holding a door open for somebody can change the way that they look at that next person throughout their day. And if I can be of assistance in helping breaking that crab mentality, I will make that my lifelong purpose. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Have a great night.
Bryan Blackmon, everybody. Bryan, wow, brother. That is some kind of story, man. Um, really some kind of story. I've got a couple of questions if you don't mind. Doing a little Q&A for a minute or two. You think you got that in you?
Yes, yes, sir.
All right. I can tell how emotional this is for you, man. I mean, I from the start, and I got to tell you, you handled that whole thing like a champ.
Thank you very
Big
much.
time,
Thank
big
you.
big time,
I'm
man.
trying to breathe.
You did great. You really
Thank
did
you.
great. The your 85-year-old landlord, Elaine, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Funny, that's my mom's name.
Get out of here.
Was my mom's name. Yeah, exactly. Um, do you feel like she was sent to you on purpose?
Without question, there's no hesitation.
Well,
I was meant to be in her life. She was meant to be in my life. Absolutely.
yeah, 100%. I mean, with everything that happened with her story, you know, her relatives, things like that,
Yes,
seems
sir.
like she had the mentality to accept, what was happening, but also to encourage, you to fight back the way you were.
right? One of the coolest, most amazing parts of this whole thing that I'm just fascinated by is the generational help.
Yeah.
Why would this 85-year-old lady take a chance? She's got family here, but I could have been anybody. I could have been raised in a different home and not such a nice person, you know? So that step that she took, and she's told me this several times that God was speaking to her as well.
I
Like
see.
she felt it. She just knew. She doesn't really know how to explain it otherwise, just by saying that she just knew. And she goes to church and she's a Christian. And so yeah.
Right on.
Yes, sir.
I'm not surprised. I know that in most of the 12-step programs and things like that, when we're trying to, kind of get ourselves clean, recognizing a higher power, giving yourself up like that, is pretty important. Did you have that in your life prior to all of this stuff happening to you? I mean, was that part of what was missing, and then you just found it afterwards?
No, not at all. I was in church. My grandfather was a deacon. My great grandmother played the organ and the piano. My grandmother
Oh,
played the organ and the piano after she passed away. I was in church camps all summer. I can't remember a time growing up that I wasn't doing something, that was involved with our church. I just didn't I didn't like the rules of it. I knew this from a really young age that if God made us, I used to think about this in church when I was little. If God made us, why do I need to go find him?
I mean, logic's logic. I understand.
And then I remember hearing, many years later that, in the Bible it says, the kingdom of heaven is within you. So I had to leave all the religion behind from a really young age, and I kept the spirituality part. I always believed in something greater than myself. I just never understood it or what it was or how to even go about putting it into my own life. I just knew that I wasn't separate from it. And it wasn't until I got sober and really started meditating and focusing on me and growing my internal self that none of this happened without. I don't believe in coincidences. None of this happened. You have to put the footwork in.
Hmm.
There is no sitting back and letting things just happen to you. That would not make sense. I truly believe that opportunities are put into our life, and it's how you choose to move forward with it, if you do or not.
Yeah. You mentioned locking yourself in your room.
Yes, sir.
I mean, brother, that's a forced solo detox you're talking about.
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure people who have no experience with this quite understand the severity of what you did. Um, did you just feel like that was the only way? I mean, was
Yes,
that a
sir.
desperation move? Is that kind of what it was?
Yes, sir. I want to make this very, very clear.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Do not recommend doing it that way. I had just done it so many times that I knew what to expect. The only thing I didn't foresee happening was I was smoking a lot of meth. And today it's cut with fentanyl. That's the one drug that I never did and never got into, was never interested in it. But the meth was being cut with it. So I didn't know how much I was really addicted to it and how intense I didn't expect the withdrawals to be as bad as they were, but that's the reason why I came to find out later that, I'd been, smoking a lot of fentanyl without me even really, if I knew it, I knew it. If I didn't care.
Right.
Right.
I
The alcohol
understand.
withdrawals were horrible. I mean, it wasn't seizure type, but it was I can't take this anymore
Feel like you were saved for a purpose.
without question.
Is that what you
Yes.
live in now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's powerful, brother. It really is. That's something.
All I want to do is it my whole burning desire with every fiber of my being just wants to help that next person get out of their own head. I have nothing bad to say about AA or NA or sober living homes or any, I'm not going to bash on any way that anybody gets help. For me, it's those rules that you're going to do it my way or this way, or you're going to not be successful.
Yeah.
And I can't jive with that, man. People have to find what works for them. And if you don't believe in a higher power going through it, fantastic. If you're staying sober and you're growing just a little bit every day, or you're just pushing through that 1% every day, it's compound interest on your life. It's compound interest on your life, man. You'll look back 6 months later and go, okay, all right, pretty clear headed now. Maybe there is something more to this. And if that's what brings you to believing, great. Great and wonderful. It doesn't have to be. There's no timeline. There's no timeline. And that's why when I started building this transformation experience, it's an experience. So if you go to my website and see what I've built, there are no rules. It's not do it this way or you're not going to be successful. It's just a proven way that keeps a smile on my face. It keeps me grateful for those five simple things in life and truly believing with all of not believing, beliefs can change, but believing for that foundation, then it'll grow to the no, not the N-O, the K-N-O-W, right? But you have to have, if you could just believe for a second, you can start making progress. And to me, it's just simple disciplines that I've put into my life. And if I get to wake up every day and realize that life is just full of experiences, those are good experiences, those are bad experiences, those are sad experiences, those are fearful experiences, they're, anxious filled experiences, whatever they are, they're just experiences and they're all temporary. So, how do you become stronger in your mind, body, and spirit to just appreciate life's experiences? And when you start transforming your brain to look at life like that, it's not going to be easy. I still do it. I still work on it daily. Right? This isn't something I figured out overnight. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, is because if every day you're 1% better, and then you can start breaking it down to maybe I'm going to be 1% better in my faith and whatever. Maybe it's going to be 1% better at just looking at a different perspective of my life on a daily basis, or maybe 1% better at gratitude or love or joy for whatever it is. That compound interest a year later, 2 years later, you look back, you're like, man, I've grown so much and I'm
Yeah.
truly happier than I've ever been in my life. And that's where my passion lies, is helping people become that better version of themselves. And then help the next person, right? It just continues.
I love that, man. All right. That's a great vibration to be carrying forward for sure. Absolutely love it. Bryan, you did a great job today on the show, and I want to thank you for being on, man. Bryan Blackmon, everybody, thank you for being here, brother.
Yeah, thank you so much for this experience, man. This was awesome.
All right. Before I let you go, tell everybody how they can reach you, find
Yeah,
you,
if you
that type
go
of thing.
to yeah, thanks. If you go to crabcrewlife.com, CRABLIFE, Crab Crew Life, I'm sorry, crabcrewlife.com. You can learn more about my story. All my social media is there. You can come join the TikTok live stream. I'll start back up next month. I took this month off to kind of take a break from it. I've been doing it for 2 years. But besides that, I'll be back on next month. You can come join the Discord, which is Crab Crew Discord, and built an amazing family and community over there where so many people support each other and just look out for one another. And it's truly an amazing thing. So yeah, come be a part of it, come learn about it, and come hang out.
Wonderful. I'll make sure as much of that as possible gets into the show notes too, so
Thanks,
everybody
man.
can click on those. All right, Bryan, thank you for being here, brother. Appreciate you so much.
Yes, thank you, sir.
All right, folks, that's been another spectacular episode of Step Up to the Mic. If you're an aspiring or current speaker and you want to bring your talk to the masses, message us today. Never, ever stop talking and let us help you to step up to the mic.